Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to do a follow-up to my last video talking about conferences and all the changes that have happened since President Nelson became prophet. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you like it, hit the notification bell, and make sure to leave your comments. And ideally, if you have sources for any additional information, make sure to leave those too. So some of you already may be familiar with the term a snowflake and a blizzard that's coming, and this seems to be something that was kind of circulating among the brethren back in 2018, and what I'm wondering is if they're still talking about it now, and that's in reference to all the changes that have been happening, how each change is like a snowflake, and that there's going to be a whole blizzard of changes, right, and snowflakes. So I just wanted to go through the information that I am aware of and that I've been able to find, starting with this April 2018 conference in a talk by Jeffrey R. Holland in his talk called Be With and Strengthen Them. So he says, to paraphrase Ralph Waldo Emerson, the most memorable moments in life are those in which we feel the rush of revelation. President Nelson, I don't know how many more rushes we can handle this weekend. Some of us have weak hearts, but as I think about it, you can take care of that too. What a prophet. And then down here, I highlighted how he used the word hastening. They are yet more evidence that the Lord is hastening his work in its time. So again, just another one of many, many examples of our general authorities using this kind of terminology within recent years, that things are starting to speed up in the church. But yeah, he references all the changes that are occurring, and this is all the way back in 2018. Now I have this article here from Daily Herald. LDS Church members prepare for latest General Conference. This article is dated October 4th, 2018. It says, in reference to comparing the changes in April to what may come in October, at least a handful of general authorities, including President Dallin H. Oaks, Elders Jeffrey R. Holland, and David A. Bednar, have compared the April conference to a snowflake in a snowstorm. In Holland's case, he used the word blizzard rather than snowstorm. That also plays off other comments like big things on the horizon or the coming rush of revelation that were used in speeches from California to Washington. Church leaders using those phrases seemingly appear excited and anxious to use them. Now, there's this blog right here. I'm not going to really go over this, but this person, they also have a YouTube channel. I'm going to include that in the description below, but they put together some more just kind of anecdotal evidence that this is like terminology that seems to have been kind of circulating among the general authorities in regards to the changes that have been happening. And so there's additional information here that this person puts together. So I would invite you to come check out their blog and also subscribe to their channel, but just more. So it's really interesting, and I find it really exciting. Here, this article, Standard Examiner, October 1st, 2020, church officials prepare for 190th Semiannual General Conference. And down here, like Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the Quorum of the 12 said, these publicly known efforts are simply a snowflake in a coming blizzard. And this just kind of like talks about all the changes that have been happening. This article from the Daily Universe, I guess this is like the BYU campus news or whatever, university news. Prepping for conference, a look at church changes under President Nelson. This one's dated March 27th, 2020. And I'm sure a lot of you will remember when he said this back in 2018. Wait until next year, and then the next year. Eat your vitamin pills, get some rest. It's going to be exciting. So that's interesting because, he was talking about, if you were to take this quote literally, then he's talking about wait till 2019 and then wait till 2020. And we all know what happened in 2020 with the Hosanna shout and the church logo. And, I would assume that he's probably not literally meaning just those next 2 years after 2018. I'm sure that there's going to be more that's happening. I wanted to go through basically the changes that have happened since that time, and try and get a sense of, has it slowed down, or does it seem like it's going to continue, or is there more that's on the horizon? So bear with me. I'm just gonna go through it. So these are the changes. This article says the 39 plus announcements and changes since President Nelson became prophet. So 2018, March 26th, the first presidency updates guidelines on preventing and responding to abuse. March 31st, Garrett W. Gong and Elder Ulysses Soares are sustained apostles. Priesthood quorums are restructured. That's huge, because my whole life it had always been the same up until that point. As high priests and elders combined into one elders quorum. And yeah, I remember my whole life, just you'd have the younger group of men in elders quorum, and then you'd have the older fellows go off into their room, and now it's all together. And actually, I really like that. I'm really happy that that change occurred, especially in my ward, just because I'm not like in a tiny ward, but it's probably smaller than average. And so it's nice to have all the priesthood holders together during Elders Quorum. April 1st, 2018, ministering replaces home and visiting teaching. Huge, huge change. Another thing that my entire life we'd always had home teaching and visiting teaching. So for that to go away and to change, that was pretty mind-blowing. As well as this right here, May 9th, 2018. The church will end relationship with Boy Scouts of America. I did a video about this, and I'll put that in the description below, but the Boy Scouts are not doing well at all. That was a huge blow when this happened. And like I said in the last video, me and my wife were scout leaders at the time, so we were pretty excited. We were pretty excited that was coming to an end. But the United Methodist Church, they were the second largest organization after our church that was part of Boy Scouts. And because of the Boy Scouts bankruptcy and getting sued to try and limit their liability, they've basically decided to withdraw from the Scouts, at least for the time being. And I speculated that I'll bet it's going to be hard for them to go back, or that maybe if they do come back, it's not going to be at full strength. Because from the article that I read, it seemed like it was kind of up to each individual congregation. I don't think that they're as centralized as our church is. But with kind of like the proliferation of alternatives to Scouts and Girl Scouts that like more religious people are coming up with it in churches, I don't know if they would actually go back to Scouts. So we'll just have to kind of watch that situation. But I think Boy Scouts, I think they're kind of in trouble. But anyway, go check out that video, and I'll probably have more videos in the future as things develop. June 18th, hymn book and children's songbook will be revised to create new unified editions for the worldwide church. And as far as I know, I mean, I haven't researched this, but I don't know how far along that process is, but that's, whenever that does get fully implemented, that's going to be huge, because it's just like all these things that, I guess it depends on how old you are, but these have been around for such a long time. Scouts, home and visiting teaching, the hymn books. you know, I can't really picture what what it would be like to have new hymns. Because I know that they want to, like, I think they want to modernize it, if I recall correctly. Anyway, whatever. June 20th, First Presidency letter announces new guidelines for youth interviews. June 22nd, a new and improved version of Preach My Gospel. Preach My Gospel actually came out when I was on my mission. I was among the last group of missionaries that used the old lessons, and we were taught not to use them the way that they were being used. Like, we didn't memorize them, but we used them as a guide as we transitioned from the old lessons to Preach My Gospel. So anyway, I guess I don't know what, you know, was new and improved in Preach My Gospel, but there you go. And Preach My Gospel, that came out, so that would have been like 2004 essentially when it first came out. So 14 years later, it's getting changed. August 16th, President Nelson issues a statement on using the full name of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He later addresses the topic at General Conference, and changes are made to the church website, social media accounts, mobile apps, etc. So yeah, that I remember when that happened. That was big. September 4th, the first volume of Saints, the Story of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is released. I don't really know anything about that. Let me know in the comments if you know what this is about, or if you've read it. First volume, I guess is it a book series? I don't know. September 5th, 2018, missionary candidates will receive assignments online instead of in the mail, which that's kind of sad, because I remember when I got mine in the mail, and it was so exciting because me and my family, we had just gone to see Lord of the Rings. What's the last one, the third one after the Two Towers? Return of the King? Is that what it is? I don't know. I'm not like a huge Lord of the Rings, but I was already like, it was like a good movie. I was on a high. We came back home. I wasn't expecting my mission call for like another couple weeks, but we came home and I saw it poking out of the mailbox, and I was so excited. And so I don't think you'll quite get the same experience just getting it in an email, but I'm sure that it's still exciting. So right. October 6th, home-centered church-supported gospel study and adjustments to Sunday meeting schedule are announced. Huge. Huge. I mean, going from 3 hours to 2 hours, that's something I never, ever could have seen changing, but it did. All right. October 30th, some church-produced pageants are discontinued. That's kind of sad. Because I grew up going to the Manti pageant in Utah, where they have the Manti Temple. There's like a pageant that they used to do, that, if I remember right, this was a long time ago, but I believe it was about just basically the story of the Book of Mormon, and it was always a really fun thing to go to. So that's sad. November 16th, all young missionary candidates, including prospective service missionaries, will use the missionary online recommendation process. I know nothing about that. December 14th, changes announced for primary progression, young men priesthood ordination, and youth temple recommends. Okay. December 20th, sister missionaries have the option to wear dress pants. I remember when that happened. That's kind of weird, but good for you, sisters. I'm glad that you're happy now. Okay, moving on to 2019. January 2nd, the First Presidency releases statement on temples. That must have been when there were changes to the endowment, I'm guessing. I could go to the link, but it's not that important. February 15th, missionaries are authorized to communicate with their families each week on preparation day by text, online messaging, phone calls, and video chats. Jealous? Not really. I mean, that added to my mission experience, and I guess that's something that's unique to us that served in the olden days. Um, and that's great for new missionaries that they can do that. I'd be interested to know more about why they made that change. I haven't really looked into that, but okay. March 22nd, seminary curriculum will align with Come Follow Me. Um, April 4th, children of parents who identify themselves as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transgender may now be blessed as infants and baptized without first presidency approval. Now that's interesting because I feel like that may have to do with hastening the work, right? Like we no longer have the time to kind of like um, sit there and decide it. I think that they want to try and get as many people prepared with their ordinances before the second coming happens. That's just what I'm assuming. I don't know. There's a link here, so maybe there's more information about that. So whatever. May 6th, 1 year waiting period for temple sealings after civil marriage is discontinued. That's another thing that kind of goes hand in hand with this right here. Is the idea here that they want to speed up the process and get everybody their ordinances as soon as possible because, like President Nelson said back in 2018, time is running out. I think so. I think time is running out. Let's get these people baptized. Let's get them sealed. Time is running out. July 19th, the church announces stakes in the U.S. and Canada will sponsor biennial for the Strength of Youth conferences modeled after BYU's Especially for Youth program. All right, I don't know much about that. Okay. August 16th, the church announces new training course to help adults know how to prevent and respond to child abuse. Yeah, I took that training because we were scout leaders. September 5th, Book of Mormon video series release dates are announced. And this has been great. They did a really good job with this. I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen it. It's on YouTube, by the way. October 2nd, women, youth, and children may now serve as witnesses of sealing and baptismal ordinances. That is an interesting one. That's just one of those things that you're so used to, like priesthood holders doing those kind of things, and essentially being in charge, or for lack of a better word, in charge, or just kind of like overseeing things. But I guess maybe they took a hard look at that and realized that it wasn't necessarily mandated by the scriptures or any authoritative source. So I don't know. The first time I witnessed that was recently when we went to the Oklahoma City Temple for a youth trip to the temple, and that was something new for me. October 5th, Ward Young Men presidencies are discontinued. New Young Women theme, class name, and structure changes are announced. Somehow I missed this, and I didn't pick up on it until I think last year. I don't know how I missed this. I don't know. Well, okay, so this is October 5th, so it must have been during conference or something. But with the bishop now directly teaching the young men, I think that's cool. I know that the bishop is essentially, he already was the president of the Aaronic priesthood in the ward, right? And the bishop was the high priest, just like if you were going to go back in the day when you had the high priest, and then you had the priests and the Levites, and that was all the Aaronic priesthood. And so it makes sense. I know that I think I read about that in the Bible dictionary. You can look that up, but it makes sense that they would restructure it. So I think that's a neat thing. October 6th, President Nelson announces revised temple recommend questions. 2020 will be bicentennial year, with April conference different from any previous conference. And yeah, that was definitely true. November 15th, the church releases new missionary handbook. I don't know anything about that. November 17th, new Aaronic priesthood quorum theme announced. December 17th, the First Presidency releases statement on church finances. All right, 2020, January 17th, adjustments are made to ceremonial temple clothing. January 30th, the church announces new administrative handbook for all church leaders and members to replace Handbook 1 and Handbook 2. I talked about that in my last video. April 4th, a new church symbol is introduced. April 5th, President Nelson issues the restoration of the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ, bicentennial proclamation to the world. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, anytime there's a proclamation to the world, that's a big deal. That is a big, big deal. Completely forgot about that. And then, not that this was a change or anything like that, but that this is when we did the Hosanna Shout, which we've never done before, church-wide at a general conference. As far as I know, they've always been done at temple dedications, so that was really unique, very unique, and I think it was very significant. And I think it has to do with the second coming. April 17th, the First Presidency releases administrative principles for the church during challenging times. Don't know anything about that. June 12th, blue dress shirts, no ties are approved as missionary attire exceptions. August 14th, the First Presidency announces 3 global church magazines will replace the current 4. Ensign title is retired and New Era remained. Oh yeah, that was a change. I forgot about that. That's another one that it's just like, what the heck? Like, I don't know. That's something from my youth that was just like really solid. I guess I have a lot of nostalgia, so I'm not sure that I like that it's called Liahona now, but that's okay. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. August 25th, church members can now submit names to temple prayer rolls online. Yeah, whereas before you would call in, you would call the temple. November 20th, President Nelson gives his worldwide message on healing power of gratitude. And that's the one where he invited us to do the 7 days of giving thanks. And then this is where the article ends. There have been some more, well, I guess you could say there's been a couple more things that have happened, or at least one more that comes to mind, with them sending out the First Presidency email encouraging everybody to get vaccinated, wear masks, etc. I don't know of any others since that time, since November of last year. So that's what makes me wonder, is there anything, like, are we slowing down? Is this right here, this article, is this the blizzard? Is this the entirety of it? Or is there going to be more this next conference? Now, if I missed anything between November of 2020 till now, other than that First Presidency email, put it down in the comments below. Actually, I think somebody had actually, hold on. You can't see what I'm doing right now. I'm going to another thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, Moroni has been removed from the temples. And then changes inside the temple. I don't know when all the changes have happened inside the temple, but yeah, that was another thing, and that kind of started in 2018. I did a video about that, how the temples that were announced in 2018, about half of them have the Angel Moroni on top, and then about half of them don't. And every temple announced since that time, none of them have Angels Moroni on top. And some people have speculated that it's because of like costs and whatever. I tend not to think so. I think that the clear theme is that we're shifting everything to squarely focus on Christ. I think that the time of the Gentiles is essentially over, and we are in the period just before the second coming. I don't think that when it comes to temples, finances are really a huge issue, because whenever we build a house of the Lord, we buy all the nicest materials, right? We basically spare no expense, and I don't think that it's just because there's so many temples that have been announced. I think that it's intentional, if nothing else, simply to shift the focus away from our old image of like using, like Mormon or LDS to describe the church, to the full name of the church, as well as not so much having Moroni be so associated with the church, because people get confused about that. So I'm pretty sure that that's why. I don't think it's that it's a financial issue, personally. So a lot of things. Now, to end this video, there is something else to think about, and that's what temples will be announced. Are there going to be more temples announced this conference? So in this article here, okay, see the 69 temples that President Nelson has announced, and actually that number is now 70, because this year, where was it? On May 1st, the Ephraim, Utah temple was announced. So he has announced 70 temples. And there's some interesting things that go along with that. So with the 20 new temples he announced during the recent April 2021 General Conference, President Russell M. Nelson has identified locations for 69 new temples in a little more than 3 years. That is a lot. That is a lot of temples. 69, well, actually now 70 in like 3 years. That's crazy. Okay, on 2 separate occasions, President Nelson has announced the most new temple locations in one setting. So he's done it twice now. The first came in October 2018 General Conference, when he identified 12 new temples. So that was his first record breaker. His announcement of 20 locations in April 2021 General Conference was a 67% increase over the previous single day total. The most temple locations identified in a single year, 27, were in 1998 under the direction of President Gordon B. Hinckley. As president of the church, he announced 78 new temple locations in his 12-year tenure. Okay, so let's think about that. Gordon B. Hinckley, during 12 years, announced 78 temples. President Nelson, in 3 years, has announced 70. So there is definitely a hastening of the work and an increase that we're witnessing. And the thing about Gordon B. Hinckley is that he was the one that announced or came up with the idea of the small temples or the miniature temples, so that it'd be easier to get temples to where the saints were in like more remote locations within the church. So if it wasn't for that, this may not have happened. And I think that's why all of a sudden there was just like a big increase in temples. So I would say that the circumstances were different than they are now. Let's see. In that regard, President Hinckley did announce 32 temples in a single time, but none of the 32 temple locations were identified in that conference or subsequent ones. Rather, the locations were announced at various times, with 27 of them coming during the 1998 calendar year. So, in other words, he talked about 32 new temples, but without saying which ones they were going to be or where, or it was somewhat ambiguous on some of them. So if you want to just if you're counting by actual, okay, we're going to do a temple in this city and this city and this city and this city, then President Nelson has the record for that with 20 in April of 2021. So what's going to happen this conference? Who knows? Who knows? So as of right now, between all the temples that have been constructed and ones that are in various phases of planning and construction and all that, we're at 252. 252. So that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it. This conference should be interesting. We're definitely going to look for any more temple announcements. We'll also be watching for any changes to church policy, or who knows, maybe revelation. Anything could happen. We'll watch for any more references to the second coming and the hastening of the work. And then, of course, just like every conference, we should look for those things that are going to improve our lives, bring us closer to Christ, and help us prepare to receive a celestial glory after this life through the Savior. So, yeah, I'm just going to end it there. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, hit the notification bell, leave your comments, and ideally comments that have sources that we can look into and maybe do videos about in the future. And I'll talk to you guys later.